A little something different than you're used to seeing on the channel. Actually tackling a problem on my son's vehicle, and some of you might know a little bit something about it, some might not. So I tell you what, let me kind of give you a little background. We'll come walk over here to the truck. Okay, so my kid picked this 04 6-liter Power Stroke Ford up. Pretty good price. Mainly used it as a temporary tow vehicle, and he had a couple of issues with it when he first got it. One was the water and fuel sensor light that kept coming on, and we flushed it out, checked it out, couldn't see any water. So you know what, thought maybe it's just a sensor. So one of his shop buddies that he has his truck taken to put a new water and fuel sensor in it. And not long after that, he was driving it, and he stopped, and the truck sat for a little bit, and then it took forever to start. It's a very, very long crank. So he brought it over to the house, and I said, okay, let's take a look at it. And when it was sitting cold, you could tell that it was it just took way too long to crank. Just similar to a gas car that had lost its fuel system prime or something going on with the pump. Now I know that the high pressure relief, hey Josh, the high pressure relief valve, that's up there in the oil filter. I don't know if you can see it from this angle, but let's see if we can take a look. Yeah, you kind of see it right there. Okay, that's the high pressure relief valve and the secondary fuel filter. And there's actually an update for that. They call it the Blue Spring update. So it helps boost the overall fuel pressure up from stock of about 45, 50 to more close to 60, 65. And that's important because you want to make sure you have a good, clean, steady flow of fuel to the injectors on the 6.0, or damage to the injectors will occur. So I brought it in, and I didn't have a fuel pressure gauge hookup for it. Didn't feel like crawling under the truck. I'm not getting any younger. It's a little harder to get up nowadays. So I tried something I knew from my lab scope days, and I did a current ramp on the fuel pump, and I saw it was only drawing about 2 amps. Well, I've never seen a fuel pump draw that low unless there was something wrong. And typically, the pump's not working hard. Anytime you've got a motor, its current draw is based not only on its electrical resistance, but the resistance of the work it has to do to perform its task. In this case, the fuel pump pushing fuel. So when it's not working hard, that's telling me that it's either not getting any fuel to push, or it's bleeding off the pressure before it has a chance to build up any pressure. So that's why I went ahead and I put the high pressure valve on it. First, it was a good thing to do. Second, it was the easiest thing to do. And it helped. When I looked at the current pattern then, you could see it building up to where it's now drawing 6 amps in a step. And figured, okay, then there's still something causing it to leak down. And I'm studying up on the fuel system. It's on the 6.0, the fuel module is actually mounted near the driver's door under the frame rail underneath the truck. And it does a couple of things. It's got the fuel pump in there. It's got the water and fuel sensor in there. It's got the fuel heater in there. And I said, oh, let's see. They put a new water and fuel sensor in there. So I get up underneath the truck, crawl on my back here in the driveway, and sure enough, it's leaking fuel from that sensor. A little more digging, long story short, it was improperly installed. The sensor has to go in a specific way, and this was 90 degrees out of phase. So it was leaking the fuel pressure down as soon as you shut the key off, and then you had to prime the pump, turn the key on and off a couple of times, and then it would start just fine. But took the sensor out, inspected the O-ring, that was in good shape. So I just reinstalled it properly, and that no more leak, no more long crank. However, now we take it out and drive it. He was having some issues with intermittent loss of power. And the vehicle would store a P0299, which is a turbo underboost, and a P0401, which is an EGR, insufficient flow. So let's see, underboost. So either the turbo is not performing the way it's supposed to, or there's an air leak in the charge air tubing somewhere, again, not uncommon, or the sensors are not reading properly, because this is a variable turbo, variable rate geometry turbo, and it's got to get the input typically from a MAP sensor, manifold absolute pressure sensor, and then there's an exhaust back pressure sensor, and then they look at the barrel readings, and that's where the ECM uses that and load and RPM to determine how to run the turbo. So I checked the sensors. I found real quickly that the MAP sensor was not functioning, was not reading anything. And again, let me show you where that's located. That's up under here, and it gets routed down there. And if you have one of these trucks, you also want to pull that hose and check that orifice, because it's very prone to getting clogged. And of course, if it's clogged, then it can't signal anything to the manifold pressure sensor to read. So this was actually a twofer. I had to unclog the port here and replace the sensor. And then that didn't fix it, or finish fixing it anyway. So the next thing was the exhaust exhaust back pressure sensor. That's right there. You can see it, tube going up to it at the base, and then you can see the connector there between the charger tube and the harness pipe there. And that, like I said, that was okay. That was clear. And hold on, I got a missus here to check on me. I'm telling guys about my truck, about the truck. So. my YouTube friends. You want to say hello? So anyway, check that. That was okay. And then I went and checked the charge air tubes, pulled them both off, checked the boots real carefully. If you're going to do that, you want to make sure that you squeeze around the tubes, because they're prone to tearing right where the clamps are. So you want to make sure you do a good inspection on those. So all is good, all is well. Did another Keon engine running self-test, but again, the 299, the 401 was still setting. So now there's only one thing left that can be, and that's the problem with the turbo itself. So that brings us to where we are now. I've got the turbo off, and you can see the guts here on the exhaust side of the turbo. These are the variable fins here. And then this, I figure they call this the isolator plate. But you can see it's got some scoring. And this should just lift off. I shouldn't have to this is stuck there. It's not just coming loose. So this is not moving like it should. And you can see over on this side, this is where the actuator operates and turns this plate in order to adjust this position of the vanes, okay? So if this can't move, then the turbo can't change its boost, and then it's not sending any boost through the intake. And of course, there's no buildup in exhaust back pressure either. So I think we have the answer. Unfortunately, I don't know if I'm going to be able to save this one from everything I did the research on. If that plate doesn't just fall off the plate, if it's actually stuck there, that may be too much damage to just clean up. And I want to say something else. Somebody recommended that, hey, you know what? You can get this cleaner, induction cleaner, and you can, a lot of guys drill a small hole in the exhaust going into the turbo and send the induction cleaner there to try to clean this carbon up. This is actually not that bad when it comes to as far as carbon goes, but that would not have solved this problem. So I'm glad I took it off and inspected it. Now we know what we need to do. If I can't save this one, luckily, I can get a replacement cartridge, which is basically the turbo guts that I can install and get this truck back on the road. So that's where we're at so far on Saturday in the shop with Pete, so to speak. And we'll keep you informed. You know, if you're coming here the first time, make sure that you subscribe, you hit that like button, and don't forget to hit the bell, you know, so you get the notifications when new stuff is coming out. We've got a webcast coming up in November. I think you're going to enjoy. It's the intricacies of the modern ignition system. We're going to do everything from how to check what's going on from the key on all the way through firing the spark plug. That's going to be a blast up there with my buddy Trulia. So you never know what you're going to miss if you don't subscribe and hit those notifications. And of course, follow Motor Age Magazine on Facebook. We're now on TikTok. You can find me playing around on there from time to time. So we're not hard to keep up with. So, hey, I got to get back to work, finish looking inside this turbo and make a decision whether we're going to try to repair it or replace it. But right now, my gut tells me we're going to have to replace the guts in it. And I'll let you know what happens as soon as we get that done.